Well, hello everyone. It's a beautiful sunny day and I see that all of you have come down to enjoy our old railway station. Brings back memories, doesn't it? Many people tend to think that Tanjong Pagar was our first railway station. You know, that iconic and ornate building with exquisite colonial stuccos and European architecture. That one lah, the one which serves the best nasi padang and satay around. See, the moment I mention food, you guys will remember the place. Confirm! But hey, as magnificent and as splendid as Tanjong Pagar was, our first station was actually one that served our tiny island internally. You see, in the late 1890s, the British government that ruled Singapore at that point of time wanted a rail network that could traverse our city. Or should I say mangrove swamp? Because at that point of time, there was no KPE or CTE or BKE, this highway or that highway. Singapore was third world, rural and undeveloped. In 1899, we did have a tram system, but it was very slow and limited in its ways. And that's why in the late 1890s, the British government set up the Singapore Government Railway. And after several project revisions, Bukit Timah and not Tanjong Pagar, but Bukit Timah railway station opened on 1st January 1903. By April that year, a total of 7 stations were fully functional, starting from Woodlands, Bukit Panjang, Bukit Timah, Holland Road, Cluny, Newton and Tank Road, which was known as Singapore Station. Now, a one-way ticket on the first class cabin from Singapore Station to Bukit Timah cost 56 cents and 84 cents return. Similarly, a third class ticket would cost 21 cents one way and 32 cents return. Mind you, this was no small feat for the locals at that point of time, but this didn't stop them from taking and enjoying the trains. In fact, a Straits Times journalist who took the train on the first day of operation counted a total of 557.5 passengers on that day. I sometimes wonder, what are some of the personal stories of those who took the train in 1903?
Hello. How are you? Are you also new to Singapore? Did you come on the train from Newton railway station to this Bukit Timah rail station? Yeah, I thought so. I thought I recognized some of you in that packed train just now. But you don't look as nervous or scared as I am. You see, I've come here to start a new life. I'm hoping to get a job with the colonial masters, with the white men. I hear that it's not easy to get hired as an Asian. But even if you do, they don't pay you as well as the white-skinned people get paid. Even their white-skinned clerks who keep typing up their work all day, they apparently doing all that work apparently are flirting with these local girls in the coffee rooms. Even they get paid a lot more than a Asian manager who sits at his desk and slogs all day long. In the rare case that one of us gets to get to a management role. But what to do? It's definitely better than my village back in India. Half the time, my village is in drought and the crops die. And there are no sales, and the children cry at night out of hunger. On those nights, I just take my straw mat and I go outside and sleep, so I can't hear the babies cry and the parents weeping because of their perceived cruelty. At that point, I wonder what could be worse than these sounds of helplessness. And then you hear the stories from the hut next to yours of this uncle who boarded a ship that took him to the waters of Malaya, to Singapore, where the colonial masters need many Asians to work, and where you're not paid depending on whether your crop grows or not, and whether the weather is conducive for growing. And then you hear the uncle say that this place, this fabulous place, has not just Indians, but also Chinese, Arabs, Malay islanders, and Europeans, and lots of dark-skinned people like us. And it's all I could think about, that I have to get here, to this place where my life could improve and it could begin. The uncle gave me directions as to how to get here, and he told me that he has a spare straw mat in his rented room. And here I am. I've got a secret to share with you. I almost didn't board the ship that was coming to Malaya, because you see, I could not afford the passage. The only way I could afford the passage to come to Malaya was by being a stowaway. I couldn't even think of buying a passenger ticket, because that would mean the cost of all the crop and the cattle for one full year. The uncle told me how he did it, and I decided to do it the exact same way. He observed the people on the day he was going to make the journey, and so I also observed the people the day I was going to make the journey. He said he picked the man who he thought was the most harried, most occupied, like he had 1,000 things going on in his mind. And I also observed and picked the same sort of person, looking for the same kind of person who was harried and occupied. The uncle said that he just offered the man some help by pretending to be a porter, and the man readily accepted because he was already so harried and in a world of thoughts of his own. The uncle made his way onto the ship, and he never left until the ship docked in the straits. As for me, I kept looking for that harried, occupied person, but I never found him. Everyone seemed to be alert, and no one wanted my pretend porter help. But I had already packed my things into these rucksacks, and I had told my parents that I wouldn't be back until 5 years, with suitcases of cash for them and my family. For me, there was no going back. Maybe because I'm fast, or because all the colonial masters think that all brown-skinned people look alike, I just hid behind the large hat boxes and got on board. Nobody stopped me. A white man came up to me and spoke to me in Hindi, oblivious to the fact that that's not my mother tongue. I just folded my hands and nodded my head. He must have thought that I belonged there. In fact, that's what I did throughout my journey. Everyone thought that I must have been someone's servant, serving one of the white masters there. And that's how I got to Malaya. From then on, I just followed my uncle's directions, and in the final leg, I got onto that train from Newton to Bukit Timah. Am I saying it correctly? Is that how you say it? Well, I'm glad to see all you people. You seem new to this place too. Well, I wish you well. And I wish myself well too. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to walk for 10 more minutes to get to my uncle's place. I need to walk past those fruit trees and walk until I get to the post office. He'll meet me there, and he'll take me to the room that he's renting from a businessman. And tonight, I'll sleep on a straw mat in Singapore and hear nothing. Bye now.
In 1907, 2 more stations were added to the line, Borneo Wharf and Pasir Panjang. And in 1918, for a sum of a little over $4 million, the entire system was purchased by the KTM, or the Kereta Api Tanah Melayu Berhad. Now it's interesting that in 1903 and even up until 1918, there were no road or rail networks from Singapore to Johor. If you wanted to visit, you need to take a train up to Woodland Station and from there, a ferry to cross the strait. Today you ask me to do this, I'll pengsan lah, I'll faint. Not so easy back in the day, was it? Nevertheless, things changed in 1923 with the establishment of the Singapore-Johor Causeway, and things further improved in 1932 when the Tanjong Pagar railway station was constructed, and all trains to Malaysia left from that station. It also meant that the Singapore Internal Government Railway was disbanded. I sometimes wonder what sort of passengers took the train between Singapore and Malaysia using the magnificent and splendid Tanjong Pagar railway station.
Hello? Hello? Excuse me. Can you tell me if the 3 o'clock train, has it arrived yet? Do you know? Are you waiting for the same train? Oh dear. I really hope it hasn't come yet. I really want to surprise my grandchild with this. You know something? I've become a grandfather for the very first time. My Anna, she married a Malaysian chap lah. That one I'll tell you a little bit later. Oh yeah, she got married and she moved far away to Kuala Lumpur. My Anna, she's my very first child. She's the apple of my eye. She is simple, quiet and obedient. Gave me no problems at all. Unlike my other 3 girls and 2 boys. You know the youngest, he is not as naughty, but he's not as good as the first one. My Anna, she was a very good child. And I'm missing her a lot, you know. You know something? The train tickets nowadays, they're not cheap. If not, I'll jump onto one train every weekend just to go and visit my Anna, leaving behind my 5 other monkey children at home with their ama. But the good thing is, I get 3 free train rides. Why, you may ask me? Well, that's because I work at the railway, at the goods office. Yeah, my office is just there, about 200 meters away. Can you see the one, the big black wooden door? Yeah, it's so near and yet I'm so late. But nothing to worry, the train is still arriving a little bit later. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, I don't know whether I'm a grandfather of a grandson or a granddaughter. I've got no clue about the gender of the child. You see, yesterday morning my daughter went into labor and she gave birth at around lunchtime. But this silly son-in-law of mine, he sent me a telegram but he forgot to mention the sex. I tell you, he's a real gundu. Wait a minute, you are going to laugh at this. I am the one who arranged the marriage between Mr. Gundu and my Anna. So who is the bigger gundu? I lost my wife a few years ago. Well, she died during childbirth. A little bit of complications. And the child she produced died also. Double tragedy, double pain, double the time to heal. If healing has to happen and finish. It hasn't finished yet. But the healing has started. Yeah, so that's that. When my wife passed on, she left behind, our 6 children, 4 girls and 2 boys. 2 of them were toddlers, and the other 4, they were below the age of 12. How am I supposed to take care of these 6 children who are missing their mother every day? I really had no clue at all. Every night, after the children sleep, I would talk to my wife as if she was there. I would keep asking her over and over again, why did she leave? I couldn't bring myself to tell her, even though she wasn't there, that I was being pushed, suddenly thrown into the deep end of being a sole parent. She hurt me. I know that because one day the Jens family who live in the next block to mine at the railway quarters, that's where we railway staff live. They told me that they've got somebody who's living with them who's desperately looking for a job, looking for work, looking for a room and looking for boarding. It must have been my wife because only she had known that I had that to offer. A room and some meals, of course simple meals, not the fancy ones. And there was enough food. I had the work for her. She can be my children's ama. She can be the housekeeper. She can cook. She can do all the things my wife used to do. Be a childminder. She could do that, and she would. And she still does that actually. In fact, she practically runs the household. That's the reason why I always turn to my wife, even though she's not there. Somehow, my problems get solved. Let me give you an example. My eldest, the one I was talking about, well, I just felt that she needed to get married just so that we can have somebody to take care of the household as a family, and also to take care of everyone's welfare should anything happen to me. That was the scary part. Should anything happen to me? Should I die? Who is going to be responsible for my children? We didn't have a family here. My siblings were not here. My wife's siblings were not here. It's only us, my family, and I had to take care of them. So that's the reason why I was desperate enough to look for a man for Anna. But somehow, there was something wrong with all those who came forth. There was one we found out was a drunkard. And the other one, he had some gambling issues. And there was one more, he couldn't even remember whether he was married once. So, I asked my wife, again and again. I tell you, my wife, she must be the most annoyed spirit in the afterworld. Yeah, because I never seem to leave her alone. But she answered my prayers. She was the one who brought Mr. Gundu and my daughter Anna together in marriage. I always make fun of my son-in-law, but he provided for my Anna. On the bigger part, my Anna was happy. He has even made me a grandfather. And the healing has started. Hey, I hear the train coming. I cannot wait to see whether it's a grandson or granddaughter. I'll see you later. Thank you for listening to me. Bye-bye.
In 1961, when then Prime Minister of Malaya, Tunku Abdul Rahman, proposed a merger between Singapore and Malaysia, rail travel was becoming very popular as many families were spread across Singapore and Malaysia and were using the train to visit each other. It was also typical for many Malaysians to be coming to Singapore, seeking greener pastures and better job opportunities.
Hey, hi there. Is this the 3 p.m. train to KL? It is, right? Yeah. I see people boarding. I'll board in a bit. You see, I actually took half a day leave today so that I can return to my hometown a little earlier than usual. Wow, panas. Very hot now today. My mother sent me to Singapore to work when I was 17 years old. My father wanted me to help in his hawker centre. But my mother said, nothing doing. My daughter is going to work in an office with fans and lights. So she booked me a train ticket 5 years ago and sent me here to work lah. This is the very same platform I landed, the Tanjong Pagar railway station. My first time in Singapura. I mean, Singapore, kan? But lucky for me, nasib baik, it wasn't very hard finding for a job here. Actually, there were a lot of us Malaysian boys and girls, all in the same boat, finding for work too. So, I made plenty of friends. Every night I will go to this friend's house lah, that friend's house lah. And then one of them will say, hey, my office is looking for a tea lady. Another one will say, hey, my boss is looking for a girl Friday. I was taken aback. Apa tu? Tea lady? Girl Friday? Never heard before. Have you? Alright. That's why I tell you, all these terms the British Mat Salleh came up with. Okay, let me explain. A tea lady is one who prepares and serves the hot drinks, cold drinks, buns, cakes, sandwiches to the people in the office. When I told my mother, she said, Sayang, I didn't send you all the way to that island to do something that you can do at your papa's stall. So I had no choice. I became a Girl Friday. Do you know what's a Girl Friday? You don't know, right? You think I only work on Friday, right? No lah. As a Girl Friday, I basically do everything clerical and administrative in the office. I'm like a all-around assistant or a helper lah. I love my job. It's always quite different. One day my boss will ask me to go and book a hall that he booked for the company's annual dinner. Another day he will ask me to go and walk the client's dog. I love it. But most days I'll be in the office, taking notes, filing stuff, organizing the files, doing admin paperwork and making phone calls. At least that was what I used to do. Because you know what happened this week? My boss asked all of us to come to the conference room. And there was this big, I don't know lah what to call it, a machine? I have never seen such a thing in my life. And my boss said that this thing was made by a company called IBM. And this machine is called 1401. It's for data processing. I asked my boss, what is wrong with my pen and paper? So, this British man, I suppose he's the IBM rep or something lah. He came and he gave us a 3-day workshop on how to use this machine. Every time he looked at me and spoke, I just nod my head only. But really, I didn't understand anything. Tak faham. Even all of us don't understand. What lah, we need all these machines for what? Huh? Then this morning, I was going to work. My boss said he got a surprise for me. So I went to my desk and there was this typewriter. I thought, this one looked like the one I always use sometimes. Maybe he bought me my own one. He did buy me my own one. But this was not a normal typewriter. This typewriter even has a name. Golf ball. You know how normal typewriters, you click on the keys and then the letter pops up and presses itself against the ink ribbon onto the paper, kan? This golf ball does more. It changes font. Do you know what's font? I bet you don't. A font is the look and the size of the typeface. The style of the letter lah. Okay, later you ask me, I explain to you. I see some of y'all look very lost. So, there I came with a headache from learning this IBM monster machine 1401. And now on my desk is another IBM machine, the golf ball. My boss tried explaining this font changing typewriter to me. What don't know lah, I don't know, binary code something lah, digital to analog converter something lah. I never understand anything. I just nod only. I was so happy, using just my pen, my paper, my hands. IBM, what lah you doing to me? You are going to kill all the office workers, Now I'm having a non-stop headache the whole week trying to learn all these new machines. Ay, Bhagavan. Like this, I should have just become a tea lady. Okay lah, I better board the train now. Bye.
Who remembers life in the 1990s? Wait, before that, how many of you weren't born in 1990s? Singapore in the 1990s was fast changing from third world to first, from developing to develop. If the GDP in 1965 was $500, it was $13,000 in 1990. Many global MNCs were shifting their Asian headquarters to Singapore or expanding on their current businesses here. Technologically, we were also doing very well, with the first internet link established between NUS and Princeton University. It was the start of the World Wide Web, and ironically, IBM also shifted their Asian headquarters to Singapore in 1990. It was an exciting time for Singaporeans with many opportunities, but we were also realizing how we could be affected by foreign situations.
Oh no, the 9 a.m. mail is delayed yet again. This is just great, simply great. I'm supposed to meet our VP of Business Development who's coming from Penang, and I've got to get him to an executive committee at my company's headquarters by 9:30 a.m. I really don't think we can make it. I am already on thin ice with my company, and I'm sure anytime now my pager is going to go off and I'll have to find a payphone to call the office. Oh, of all days, today I just drove from my home in a hurry and I forgot to bring my wallet, so I don't have any coins on me to make a call to tell the office that the train is delayed. I know. I should have taken the mobile phone that my company provided to us. But it's so heavy, huh? And most of the time the line isn't clear, and sometimes you can hear other conversations going on. Very creepy. And anyway, we are always reminded that those phones cost $3,000 and we have to keep it safely as it's very precious. So I keep mine in a locked drawer. Precious what? And I don't have $3,000 to cover the cost should anything happen. Oh dear, where is this train? This is just great, This is all I need. Already as it is, my company is an American one, you see, so you know, right? The economy in the US just went into recession and the price of oil has just spiked as well. So yeah, things aren't looking so good. Just yesterday, my friend's mother, who works as a tea lady at my company, got fired. Apparently from now on, we have to buy drinks from the vending machine that Coca-Cola provided to us. And the company has hired a mother-son duo, I heard, and they are charging them a fee to rent a corner to sell food to us at the office. That's why so many of my Singaporean friends were telling me it is better to work in a government job rather than these hangmo companies. American law, British law, Australian, apparently most of them it's like this, fire here, fire there. As long as they don't like something, it is a higher fire policy. At least for Singaporean companies or even our local government jobs. If they don't like something, never mind firing you. They won't even dare tell you. They'll just hint and hint, and then you don't get the hint. So they call the superior to come and hint at you. Sooner or later, you get the multiple hints and change or do better. Simple. That's what I was told. But then again, most people say that you get better pay at these foreign companies. So why not? There are so many of them here, right? All wanting to be on our beautiful island world, wanting to take advantage of our infrastructure and high GDP, our local workers. So, okay, what? You pay locals, locals also will work for you, right? Until you get angry and fire us. Well, I am fortunate and I am a glass half full kind of girl. I don't sit and analyze because life is like that. You can analyze till the cows come home, and then in the end, you still end up with a cow shot if that's your fate. So for me, I just take what choices I'm given at that period of time and I make a wise decision. The wisest decision I possibly can, that is, and I approach that job or relationship or whatever as something that is meant to be. So yeah, whilst I sometimes do worry, like just now, right? With the late train and me here with no mobile phone or 10 cents. So yeah, I sometimes do worry, but I always try and remind myself that all this was just meant to be. Hey, it just occurred to me that had it not been for the delay train, I wouldn't be able to talk to all of you nice people, see? Just like I said, meant to be. Lilo, the train is here. What are you all waiting for? Better run, bye!
Today, Tanjong Pagar railway station is no more. It closed down in 2011, and with that, all train services shifted to Woodlands Station. And since 2015, the only KTM service available is one which takes you between Woodlands and Johor on a 5-minute journey. There are no other train services from Malaysia which go to Singapore and vice versa. It's goodbye to the long train journeys from Singapore to Kuala Lumpur, even up to Penang, as you look forward to choosing the dishes for your nasi padang from the buffet cart, and in later years having pre-packed nasi lemak as you looked out of the window into the rolling grasslands and rubber plantations. It's goodbye to the sleeper carriages and either choosing the upper or lower berths, making sure that you've got a safety pin to pin the flimsy curtain in place as you look forward to being rocked to sleep by the movement of the train. I will miss all of that. I will miss the railways and all the stories that they have brought. When all is said and done, are the railways ever truly gone? High-speed rail will soon dawn, and new rail interest will be born.
I didn't get fired that fateful day. I rose and rose with plenty of pay. But even with time, I still believe that fate is fate, no matter what may.
New technology was so hard I deemed, but I learned all I could about the machines. The more tech I knew, the more I was keen to forget pen and paper and all it had been.
So, my Anna arrived with a twin convoy because double my tragedy needed double the joy. In one arm, a sweet girl named Merle Sheila, and in the other, a robust boy called Jiva Raja.
The uncle got me a job at the rails. Now I can afford the passage to sail. I bring home envelopes of cash I avail. So now the children no longer wail.
We thank you all for hearing our tales of our lives that involve the trains. So much history with so much to say. These are the records of the railways.
Getting a beat. Thank you all for hearing our tales of our lives that involve the trains. So much history, so much to say. These are the records of the railways.
Yeah.
Of the railways. Mic drop.